Welcome to our Security Management and Administration video tutorial. The Prognoz Platform comes with a built-in security management and administration tool that enables you to manage access to data, metadata, and tools centrally. Leveraging access control at the level of objects and individual records, the Prognoz Platform Security Management and Administration module protects the system against unauthorized access. Prognoz Platform security features support flexible user authentication and authorization, activity audit, control of system integrity, and the integrity of information stored in it. The Prognoz Platform is fully compliant with the security regulations. Thus, you can use the platform to build automated, high-security systems. Once specified, security settings are enabled for all platform tools automatically. The Administration and Security module has a convenient visual interface. For using administration and access control capabilities of Prognoz Platform, choose the relevant Security Manager sections. The subjects of security systems are users. The Security Manager allows you to add system users and edit their properties quickly. Users from a domain can be added to the system just as easily. Let's add a domain user and examine the module capabilities by accessing it as the domain user. After user definition, additional parameters can be specified to set up an account. Once you check the Create on DB Server and Grant Rights on DBMS level boxes, you're prompted to enter the login and password of the user authorized to create accounts and tables. The added user appears in the same name section of the Security Manager. User groups allow you to set up access rules common for all users of a particular group. Let's create a new group and add the domain user to it. For the new user group, let's grant the privileges to log in. Browse Access Protocol, and log in to Object Navigator. The Prognoz Platform Security Manager employs two different access delimitation methods, discretionary and mandatory methods. The discretionary access delimitation method is used for access control at the level of objects. Prior to granting access to objects, change settings of a database based on which current objects are created. In the database properties, specify login credentials. Otherwise, you'll connect to the DBMS server under the same username and password that you specified to connect to the repository. Each access permission gives the right to perform a particular action with an object to the designated security subjects. Let's grant access permissions for some repository objects to the created user group. Access permissions for common operations can be customized for each security subject individually. Let's grant permission to the user group to read folders and their contents, to disseminate rights to child elements and activate object permission inheritance. Check the corresponding boxes. To connect to the repository using domain user parameters, select the integrated domain authentication type in repository connection settings. When users log in into the operating system using a domain account, they are not required to enter credentials to connect to the Prognoz Platform repository. After logging in, the user can view only those objects with access permission. Let's open one of the reports. As you can see, the report opens for reading only, since the user has read-only privileges. Attempts to edit the report data fail, since the corresponding buttons are disabled. The other access type used in Prognoz Platform is mandatory access. This method assigns access labels to system objects and subjects that define the level of sensitivity of data contained in objects and subjects. When applied, the mandatory access method classifies all data stored in the system by sensitivity classes. In the mandatory access control section, you can add a sensitivity class and create a list of access levels within the class. Access is not granted to the 0 level. Access to the remaining levels is defined as follows. When the user's access level is higher than the object's level, the user has read-only privileges. When the user's access level is lower, the user has write-only privileges. When the access levels are the same, the user has full privileges. This is how hierarchical access classes work. When it comes to non-hierarchical classes, the user has full access when access privilege levels are the same. Otherwise, the user has no access at all. In the Policies Editor section, you can edit access rights that are common for all system users. On the General Policy tab, you can select a startup object that will open by default instead of the Object Navigator when the user logs in. Let's check the dashboard as the startup object. This report opens automatically when you log in. To reduce information security risks, privileges can be delimited between the security administrator and application administrator. The Password Policy tab is used to set password rules. The Access Control tab shows what type of access restriction is used in a particular access pattern. When one access delimitation pattern is insufficient, access permissions can be fine-tuned by combining mandatory and discretionary access privileges. Let's apply the mandatory access delimitation method for the repository. By default, all repository objects are labeled Access Denied. Let's assign the restricted access to one of the repository folders. When setting the access level, it's important to take into account the label values access objects included in a particular object. Let's set limited access for the workspace object. The access level should be set for the user as well. The Mandatory Access Control tab appears in the User Properties window. Once the user logs in, an empty Object Navigator appears, since the user's access level is lower than the access level of system objects. Let's edit the user's access level and make it the same as the access level of the workspace object. After refreshing objects in the Navigator, the workspace object appears in the repository. Since the user's access level is the same as the objects, the workspace is accessible for viewing and editing. When a restricted access level is created, users cannot export or print objects. As you can see, the system prevents you from performing any banned action. Let's set the user's access level higher than the object's access level. A folder with the same access level appears in the Object Navigator. The workspace object becomes accessible for reading only, since the user's access level is higher than the access level of the object. Let's return to the Policies Editor section and reset settings. Using the built-in authorization mechanism, authentication can be performed by Prognoz Platform tools instead of DBMS tools. Here, we can also define banned workstations logins as well as available printers. In the Auditing section, you can define what actions with objects are logged. Audit settings are specified for object types. Here you can change auditing settings and define what actions with objects are logged. Now, all changes in the dashboard object type are logged in the change history. To show how the change history is maintained, let's grant to the user the permissions to edit one of the dashboard reports. Once permissions to edit the report are granted to the user, the corresponding item becomes available in the context menu. Let's change the dimension selection in the report, add new dates to be displayed in the report, and save changes. A change record appears in the object change history. The Access Protocol section records all actions taken by users who work with the scheme. Protocol records are represented as a hierarchical tree for the ease of viewing. The top of the tree is the repository to which the user calls, while the repository objects are descendants. For a quick search for the desired events in the protocol, you can use filters. Let's create a filter where the actions of a new user are used as the condition. For the new filter, you need to specify basic parameters. Then, specify the filter conditions. Conditions can be combined by logical operations. For some conditions, you need to specify parameters, such as desired users when selecting the Show Only Selected Prognoz Platform 8 Users condition. After viewing the protocol, we can see records about the login of the new user. In the Security Violation Monitoring section, you can easily track security breaches. Here, you can see information on failed login attempts and failed actions with objects due to restricted privileges. As an example, let's try to open a report the user has no access to. As you can see, the record on the breach attempt appears in the Security Violation Monitoring section. In the Service sector, you can easily create a backup of security policy settings and load previously created settings file. Let's save a copy of the existing security settings to a file. If needed, you can reset settings that were effective when the backup was saved. As you have seen, Prognoz Platform offers flexible capabilities for administration and access management, including access control at the level of objects and individual records, and support of discretionary and mandatory access control models, among other capabilities. Our security management and administration video tutorial is over. Thank you for your attention.